So go back and listen to Becky's episodes.
I definitely do. But so our functional medicine doctor, she said that with Liam's like yeast and bacterial markers like that she's seeing, she said that he is basically drunk all the time.
Whoa.
So like basically like the yeast and the bacteria, they give off like toxic byproducts. Like if a child is visually impaired and they need glasses, are you going to say, no, we're just going to accept you the way you are and we're going to love you the way you are and we're not going to give you glasses because us giving you glasses is fixing you and you're not broken? You're going to just give them glasses because that doesn't, just because you're trying to help them doesn't mean there's something wrong or broken with them.
All right, this isn't a feel-good autism story. This is a survival story. Today on the Unspecial podcast, I'm sitting down with @awesome_insights on Instagram, also known as Stephanie, a mother who didn't wait for permission, didn't follow a script, and refused to let a broken system define her child's future, Liam. If you've ever been told to accept less, trust the experts, or stay in your lane, this episode is for you because we're done whispering, we're done apologizing, and we're done letting other people decide what our children are capable of. This is the Unspecial podcast. Let's get uncomfortable. Stephanie,
Yes.
Thanks for being on.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me on, honestly.
Yeah, we've had this in the works for months.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pumped. We're here, and we waited because you were.
There was still so much more that I was trying to learn with the doctors that we were seeing, and I felt like once I had more information from them, I would have had a lot more to go off of to tell you.
Yeah. And so your son, his name is Liam. How old is he?
He's 3.5 now.
He's a little guy. Mm-hmm. I have a 4-year-old, so I'm just picturing they're the same size.
Is your 4-year-old your oldest?
She's number 3.
Okay.
I have 9, 7, 4, and 1.
I thought you were literally just about to say 9 kids.
No.
I was like, whoa.
No.
Okay, yeah, that's their ages, I see.
I do have a friend who has 8 kids, and they're all under 12.
Oh my gosh, that sounds hard.
She smokes me in the gym every morning.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
Keeps her going.
Right.
She has to be strong in order to chase all those kids around.
I know. I don't know how she does it. I don't know how any of you do it. How are you doing today? You're alive and well?
I'm doing good. After Liam's diagnosis, I have also been diagnosed with a couple other things. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder, different than OCD. I had never even heard of it. I thought that I had OCD my entire life. Then when I got the diagnosis, they said, no, you fit the criteria for OCPD instead. And then I also have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder as well, which my mom is bipolar. So I always thought like, oh, I have the bipolar gene or whatever. But now that I've been learning about methylation, I've now come to realize that my methylation is just imbalanced. Or at least that's what I believe. And so I'm trying to get my methylation back on track too.
So well, all right. We're going off script already. Forget it. Okay. We're just going to let it fly. What, did you have some of that before Liam, or did Liam accentuate those?
I mean, I've always thought I had OCD because I had OCD tendencies. And I was very particular growing up, to the point where if I didn't like my handwriting while I was writing our tests or when I was writing our essays and stuff, back when I was younger, before we were typing up our essays and stuff, it was 5th grade. If I didn't like the way that my penmanship looked while I was writing, I would rewrite my essays all over again, start from the beginning, rewrite it until I was satisfied with the way that my penmanship looked. And then I was like, okay, this is good enough to turn in that way. And I've always been so like OCD when it comes to checking things, like not checking doorknobs or anything, but rereading my emails to make sure there's no typos, or like never feeling like I've done enough. And it's something that I've always struggled with. But then I sought out a therapist, and she said, "Oh no, you fit like OCPD." And so then when I looked up what that is, I literally, my mouth dropped and I was like, "This is me. This is like so me." But I didn't
Oh,
even know
man.
that condition even existed. And
I never
then
heard of it.
yeah, it's a type of personality disorder instead of a like obsessive compulsive disorder.
Mm.
And I
So it
think
comes
it's
and goes?
no, it's just kind of like who I am. It's You're very driven by perfectionism, and I've always been somebody who is like a perfectionist. And I think that also comes along with me not feeling like I've done enough. Like I'm always trying to tweak and perfect. Like when before I stopped working, I was working on designing websites, and I would spend so much time on these websites because I was tweaking little things that didn't need to be tweaked, but I felt like it wasn't good enough.
Huh.
And so I was just kind of like trying to like fix it. And so I also think like I've always been trying to like fix myself. Like I went into psychology, and I graduated with a degree in psychology. I was going for my master's as well for marital and family therapy. And so I kind of just feel like growing up, I've always been on a mission to figure out myself as well. And it was just kind of like where I led in a professional sense. But
Hmm.
then I didn't finish my master's, and I ended up moving to Louisiana. And then now I'm not even using my degree for anything, but I really do feel like everything I've learned through psychology and through school helps me so much more with Liam than it would in my, like if I were to seek out psychology as a profession.
Oh, okay.
Like I feel like I've
Okay.
been using so much of my degree learning about myself and learning about Liam.
Yeah.
And if anything, I feel like my education is so much more meaningful for me right now.
I mean, from what I see, that's spot on. I can see your background in all that, especially with your 10-part series on why you don't think he regressed, or
And
why
it's
he wasn't born with autism.
another a thing that's weird too is like I took classes like adolescent development and stuff like that, and I took exceptional children classes, but it was more about like the legal stuff with special ed, more of like IEPs and how to go about that, and less about like the actual brain development of
Mm.
somebody who has like special needs. So that was kind of interesting because now I feel like I'm learning so much more about autism than I did when I was in school.
Right. I mean, for sure, for me too. Even going through the credential program, I learned
Yeah.
more on this podcast than anywhere.
Oh, I bet.
Do you think how long ago was that you stopped pursuing
Um,
psychology?
I graduated from college in 2014.
Okay.
So, and then I was going for my master's in 2015. And I only was going for 1 year. Luckily, well, not luckily, but coincidentally, when I stopped going for my master's, my school didn't even get accredited that year. So it was kind of
Mm.
like a blessing in disguise because my education wouldn't have really counted for anything if I weren't to use those credit hours for, you know. But
Right.
yeah, I was going to the Chicago School of Professional Psychology at the time. And then one of those years during my master's degree, they didn't even get accredited. So I ended up stopping my master's program, and I started working right away. And I worked for an iPhone app company for a little bit until I ended up meeting Will.
Okay. Will's your husband.
Yeah. And so
Okay.
he and I actually met online. We met on Facebook.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I
Yep.
mean, whatever. I know
And then
people.
we were long distance for a year and a half until I finally made the move down to Louisiana, and then that's how
Yeah.
I ended up here.
Okay. And so, do you work now?
No. So
No.
for the longest time after I moved here, I was working for a promotional products company doing like account management and stuff. And then when Liam was diagnosed, I stopped working there and I wanted to stay home with him because he was going to 9 therapies a week. After his diagnosis, he was going for speech therapy, ABA therapy, and occupational therapy just with early steps alone. And then he was also doing all three of those as well with the center. And so he was doing like some of those therapies a couple times a week with, and then doing early steps a couple times a week. And so he was doing 9 therapies a week, and I wasn't able to really like balance being able to fulfill all of his therapy needs as
Yeah.
well as like going to work at the same time because my husband also works full time. So it
Right.
was a lot. And I felt like Liam comes first, and my husband was like, we can make it with just my income if you want to stop working so you can focus on him. But then I was like nervous about financials. And that's another thing with OCPD is you hoard money for future catastrophes. And
Oh,
so
wow.
that is like one of the diagnostic criteria for OCPD is that you hoard money because you think you're going to run out of it. And so when I stopped working, that was like one of my things that started coming up, my anxiety of like, we're going to run out of money. Like, what do we do? Especially because there's so many expenses that come along
So
with
many.
autism. And so then I started designing websites because it was something that I had been doing for like friends who were starting their own businesses. And so then I started like actually like trying to pursue that. But then it was so much to juggle with the websites because I was so trying to make them perfect because I was like, I want these companies to like their websites and I want to make sure that I'm doing it exactly the way that they want it. And so I would spend so much time like tweaking them and trying to make them perfect. And it was driving me kind of crazy at the same time. And so I had gotten to a point where I was like, if I want to be intentional and like 100% all in on Liam, I have to like get my distractions gone. And
Hmm.
so I stopped the website design just to focus on Liam. And then if we get to a point where he has like regained his skills and I feel like I can start working again, then I'll go back into that.
Okay. Well, maybe we should talk. Mine needs a little help.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would love to do
We'll,
it.
we'll talk. We'll talk. We'll talk. Where we'll backtrack, but where is Liam now? He's 3.5.
Um,
He's at school.
yeah, so he's going to the center here in which is like really good autism center here.
Cool.
And he is in a classroom from 8 to 12. And
Okay.
he's with other children that are also kind of around the same cohort of needs that he is at. And he has like one on one help with the text while he's not in his therapy sessions, like in the classroom and stuff. And then when he goes through his therapy sessions, he has speech group therapy, and then he also has individual group therapy or individual
Okay.
speech therapy, and then also occupational and ABA. And they're kind of like the techs that are in the classroom that are working one on one with him when he's not in his therapy sessions. They are utilizing like ABA type skills and like methods to help teach him like how to do certain things.
Okay. And you like it? It's going well.
I think it's going good. He before like back when I said like he was doing the 9 therapies per week, he was doing that for like a year to a year and a half, and then he still this year scored at the milestone equivalence to a 6 to 15 month old baby. And that's when I was like, we have to do something else to support his body because clearly these therapies are like helping him, but they're not helping him to the point that he's really like regaining the skills that he lost. And his therapists are like great people. They work so hard, but it's his body that's working against him. And it's his body that's working against everything that the therapists are trying to help him achieve. You know, like if they're trying, one of the things that they're trying to do is trying to extend the time that he's sitting in a chair because
Hmm.
he elopes. And so just getting him to sit in the chair for like this amount of time and then like adding more longer intervals but it's like if his body is dysregulated, it's working against them. It's working against him trying to sit in the chair. Like he's going to want to keep wanting to get up and stuff. And so if
Yeah.
anything, it's making him more conflicted because his body is making him want to get up. But then they're like, no, 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 you got to sit down and everything. And so when you support the body during those therapy sessions, you can get so much more out of the therapy outcomes. And so when he went into the ABA program, he scored at the 6 to 15-month-old milestone, but he's been doing that program for a couple months now. And I just had one of my like parent teacher conferences. Actually, they call it not an IEP, but they call it an ITP, individualized treatment program, for like their center. And they said that he actually, now that I've been like helping him support his body and stuff, he actually has achieved his short-term and long-term goals, which the long-term goals were goals that they thought he was going to be able to achieve by the end of like the school year. And he's
Whoa.
already tackling. Yeah. And so
Let's
I'm like, gosh,
go.
right. Yeah. And we
Yeah.
haven't even really got in the nitty gritty of the treatments so far. Right now, we're just trying to transition his diet and fill his vitamin deficiencies.
Okay. What would you say? I don't know. What's the biggest challenge you face with Liam? Is it like speech, behavior, along those lines?
Behavior, no, because he's very well behaved. Like if we
He's a
say, if we tell
happy-go-lucky.
him, yeah, he goes with the flow. Like he's not very combative. He's not very resistant. He goes with the flow, and he goes like we will have people that like will babysit him if we have to do something like his relatives and stuff, and they're like he is so well behaved, it's ridiculous. But the
Sweet.
speech is so hard to get that out.
Yeah.
Like when he tries to talk, he tries so hard, but you see he will have like facial tics. Like if I say, can you say mama? You'll see his like eyes flutter, and then he gets frustrated and turns away. Or like if I say like, can you say this? He'll be like,
Uh,
like he literally can't get his facial muscles to move the way that he wants them to in order to get the speech to come out. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to do with our doctor is mitochondrial healing, because once your cells and mitochondria can produce enough ATP, it can start fueling the muscles more. Like right
uh,
now, one of the accounts that I like to follow, Dr. Dana Johnson, she has a lot of information about apraxia on her YouTube
yeah.
channel. And so the way that she explains apraxia that I really like is she says, think of your brain like somebody who's like about to pick up a cell phone, and think of like the rest of your body as like the person who's on the receiving end of the cell phone, and your brain tries to make a call from one person to the other person, and the signal gets lost on the way to the other person. And that's what
Mm,
apraxia is like. It's like your brain sending a signal to either your mouth muscles or to your limbs, and the rest of your body, your mouth, your muscles, your limbs are not receiving the information that your brain is sending. So his brain knows what it wants to say and knows what it wants to do, but his body can't do it, even though he's trying to make those movements happen.
wow.
Like he can't point. Like if I say, can you point? He goes like this. Sometimes he goes like this with his thumb. Sometimes, I don't know how he does this. Sometimes he does this, like with his finger. He will just, and I'm like, that looks so much harder than just doing this. Yeah. He literally will go like this.
It's just those little things we take for granted
Yeah.
that like these guys try so hard, but they can't get their body to do what they want it to do.
Yeah.
Does he like swimming?
He loves swimming. He loves anything in water. He loves taking a bath. Swimming, obviously, he
All
has
right.
trouble like moving his body, but just being submerged in water, it almost like calms him in a way that nothing else does.
Well, I
Like,
read in a book. I think I don't remember which one. The Reason I Jump or something,
oh
but
yes,
it was
I've heard of
talking
that.
about he loved swimming because that's the only time he could feel his body in space.
It makes sense because a lot of children, especially the ones that don't really feel their body, they need that type of like pressure or that type of
Yeah.
stimulation or like tactile stimulation to feel their body.
Huh.
And so, like, one of the things that Liam's speech therapist, well, not the speech therapist in particular, but the director of the speech therapy department, she does this thing with Liam. Like, if we're trying to get him to talk, she puts a glove on her hand and she will just like move her fingers on his lips to stimulate the feelings of his lips to get his lips moving. And
Oh,
that like
wow.
tactile stimulation is enough to get like the muscles working.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but that's another reason why, like letter boards, when the children, like the nonverbal children, are trying to poke the pencil through the letterboard, they sometimes need a little bit of support on their arm to get them to feel their arm in space and have more accuracy. But then people are like, "Oh no, no, no! You shouldn't be touching them," and it's like you have to in order to give them that
It's all
input, that
it's
sensory input.
all the haters are like, oh, you're prompting him. We're like, no, you just
Yeah,
don't understand apraxia.
yeah, exactly. It's a sensory motor integration that is needed. And so, in order for the motor, you need to provide that sensory, you know?
Right, right. So then how, or back to your, I'm really curious on how this plays out, the OCPD and bipolar, because life as a mom of a son with autism, obviously I don't live the life, but all the conversations I have and from the classroom, there is nothing predictable about that life. So the controlling tendencies of who you are, how does that all play out?
Um, it's interesting. I do feel like the OCD kind of fuels the bipolar sometimes. I would say my bipolar, I don't really have that many depressive episodes. I just get very manic of like, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this.
Mm.
Or I get like bursts of inspiration and I can't get out of that like like that episode, that mania until I get that inspiration like tackled. So for
Um,
instance, I made my first regression video of Liam while I was in a bipolar episode because I was like, I feel like nobody understands. Like nobody understands like what the heck I like went through, and I want to like nobody understood me and our experience either. And so I
right.
just wanted to people to realize like this is my experience and this is like why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that was another thing when I uploaded the video, like Liam's regression video, it didn't really get that much attention on Instagram, but on TikTok it blew up and it got like 2.2 million views. And I had so many people commenting on the video saying, "Why don't you think he was born with it? Why don't you think he was
Oh,
born with it?" And that's what caused me to start my series because so many people were like, "No," they were invalidating like that it's not that everyone's born with autism that has it, blah blah blah. And then I had to feel like I had to explain to people why I didn't think that he was born with autism. And then that had me, then I saw like some, and I was like, this explains it. This is exactly. And then I started creating what became like the Y series, which is ever growing.
yeah. Is it frustrating for you that there's so many people that like don't believe you or don't understand your story? And this has always been my biggest thing with the vaccine conversation is you can okay this whatever science, all of it, believe what you want to believe, but there's one thing which obviously I have my beliefs, but there's one thing I will never get past, and that is a testimonial of a parent.
Yeah.
And I don't understand, and it frustrates me for you guys that people just can't even just believe a parent. Is that like how do you, just got to be, I don't know.
Yeah. I it got to a point where like at first I started my Y series to explain to other people why I felt this way, almost as if I was trying to prove myself or prove our reality. But then I got
Mm,
to a point where I was like, why am I trying to convince these people that already have their minds make up? If anything, I want to like reach the people who can relate to me and who do relate to me because those are the people who will find value in our story and my content because they're looking for answers as well, you know? And so
I see.
I've kind of like given up on trying to speak to whoever, and I'm now only trying to like reach the people who would resonate with my
Yeah.
content. because those are the people who need the content anyways. The other people who disagree with it, they don't need my content, and that my content isn't going to provide any value to them. If anything, it's just going to piss them off.
Right. I'm sure you get messages. Do you?
Not so many direct messages, but comments. Like I've had people tell me I need to take a chemistry class and go back to college. Like, yeah. And I'm just like, okay. If
Yeah.
anything, I've been learning about me specifically. Like, how can you tell me that what I've learned about myself is not right when you have no idea what I'm living?
Yeah, I know. I don't understand that part. All right, before we get into the early days of Liam, what's one word that describes motherhood before autism? Liam's your only child, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think as of right now, he might stay our only child unless we are able to like recover him. And I would feel like I can give my attention to another child. But as of right now, I'm kind of worried about if I were to have another child, would I be able to be all in for Liam and like focus on his recovery if I have to split my attention with another child or be distracted by another child because I'm going to have too much like to juggle. So,
Is
but
that a hard reality? Did you did you plan on having like multiple
yeah,
kids?
I
Yeah.
wanted to have at least a girl and a boy,
Okay.
but now I've gotten to a point where I don't know if I'd be able to handle two kids because he by himself is a lot. Even though he's so go with the flow, there's still so much more that
Yeah.
goes into him still. Even though he's well behaved, there's still so much more that goes into it than just trying to manage his behavior, you know?
Well, and it's like everyone on the outside sees externally everything you deal with, like the therapy appointments, taking care of Liam, but nobody knows what's going on inside your head.
Yeah,
And those
for sure.
thoughts and the research and waking up, they're always there, like the stress, the worry. And that's a big thing, like with um, my wife, that obviously I share a lot. She's fighting cancer, and everybody sees like externally my life, but it's like you have no idea what
Yeah,
goes on in there,
the
and
battles.
the scenarios you play out, and just daily, even like to get to the next hour. Sometimes it's like such a battle that you can't really explain. But
Yeah, I would say like in the past, one way to describe motherhood before autism for me was like assumptive. Like I just assumed that everything was going to play out the way that you have in your head. You assume that they're going to reach these milestones and you assume that they're going to live out this life and that they're going to have these opportunities and that you're going to have these like future memories and moments with them. Like they're going to have their own kids and they're going to have a family and you're going to be a grandparent. Like you just have this like life that maybe the media tells you that you're going to have. But then when you get the autism diagnosis, it's almost like it kind of crumbles because you don't know if any of those things that you got so excited about to experience one day will even happen, you know? And like you also, I kind of felt like his milestone, I felt like his milestones and his opportunities were like taken from him
yeah,
almost like through the like autism. And so that is why I'm working so hard to get him those opportunities back. But now, like being a parent, I would say motherhood has changed to being more intentional instead of assumptive, because before I would assume that all these things would happen and all these things would just come and play out. But now I'm so intentional of like trying to make sure that those milestones get achieved or that he can get those opportunities and that those experiences will play out for him.
yeah, and I can see how the OCPD it can be used as a benefit
Honestly,
because
when I
yeah,
first got diagnosed with OCPD and I told my dad, because like growing up, I was like straight A student because I was so
he's
OCD about my
he's
homework.
like,
I was like,
oh, it
I
makes
gotta do my homework.
sense.
Yeah. And I'm like the type of person, like I have to clean the house before I can relax. Like I would have to do
Yeah.
my homework before I could relax. And I would spend so much time on perfecting my homework because I wanted to get a good grade. And so when I told my dad, like, yeah, I have OCPD and stuff, and he's like, but is that bad? And I was like, yeah, like I'm crazy, like I feel like I'm crazy, like I'm going crazy in my head. And he's like, but look at where it led you, like
Yeah.
look at all the things that it helped you achieve. Like before I even met Will, I bought a house when I was 23 and single.
Oh,
And
jeez.
my dad was just like you bought a house like when you were 23 years old, and like you would have probably not been able to do all those things if it wasn't for like that drive that in you.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that's great and all, but like I'm literally going crazy. Or
Well,
like I'm like sleep depriving myself because I'm so like
pro-
I'm
proper
honestly
balance. Balance.
my I would say the best way to describe my bipolar is like being on Adderall for a week straight, and like the Adderall doesn't wear off. That is
So
like
then,
me.
do you sleep?
Yeah, I
Okay.
do sleep. I get like 5 hours of sleep,
Okay.
which is
Okay.
not good. I need to like work on that. But honestly, I think like once I'm in the routine of like figuring all this out with Liam, it's going to be so much easier for me to like focus on myself too. And I honestly feel like so much of what I'm learning about Liam and his biology is also applying to me, because like with the MTHFR gene, that's linked with like autism and ADHD and anxiety and bipolar and anorexia and cardiovascular health and like certain cancers. So I feel like for me and for my son, we have like similar genetics that are manifesting in different ways because of our difference in genetic combinations, but also our difference in environmental exposures and the timing of those environmental exposures and stuff.
Yeah, that's wild. So you're kind of like figuring it out for yourself and for Liam. And I've heard
Yeah.
this like combination many times with parents and kid. And
Yeah.
even to the extent of some guests on the podcast have said that their kids saved their life because
Yeah.
they started to heal alongside them. And it was like,
100%. I wouldn't
that's
have never
wild.
even like learned about MTHFR if it wasn't for Liam being diagnosed with autism, and it led me to learning about MTHFR. I wouldn't have even known it existed. And I tell so many people about MTHFR that had never heard about it. And it's so crazy too because now we have people in our family who are also pregnant, they're also getting tested and have the MTHFR gene, and then the person that they're like having a baby with also has MTHFR, and it makes me realize literally how common it is, and how, I mean, it makes sense that like autism is going up, you know,
Yeah.
our environmental, like with MTHFR being so common and our exposures to the environmental stressors and stuff goes up. Obviously, if I don't know how much you know about the like total load theory, like the bucket theory, but like as you continue to add more and more toxins to your bucket's going
Hmm.
to continue filling up. And people with MTHFR don't have as many holes at the bottom of their bucket to drain all of those toxins. And so your body holds toxins longer
Hmm.
than normal people that can just detox regularly. And then
Right.
those toxins that you hold in are causing issues in the body.
It's like the perfect storm that Dr. Tony describes on the Experience Miracles podcast, which we'll probably talk about a little bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever, you're bringing up a lot of questions in my mind. Um, so obviously, like the MTHFR, and you've been able to educate some of your family.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever like been in the mind space of like, why are you the one that has to educate them? Like what, you know what I'm saying?
Because
Like,
I'm the only one who has the drive to do it. It's honestly part of my, like, part of bipolar, like, in general, is you feel like you have to save everybody. Like, you get that grandiose
mhm.
feeling of, like, your God complex. And I feel like I get that sometimes of, like, gotta tell everybody about MTHFR. I gotta tell everybody about this. And I feel like that's also what fuels my content is, like, I get that God complex sometimes of like, I need to bring this information to people who will find value because to think of how many lives it can save. Like, it's so crazy, but at the same time, like I know it helps people. So
Yeah, and by helping people, it makes the day to day a little bit easier because you're making an impact. Did you have a denial phase, like when he was diagnosed? Were you like, no, 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 no?
there were a lot of like times where I think I think it's a family member or a friend's natural reaction to make you feel better about like whatever situation you're in. So when we kept saying like, I think Liam is having like, I think Liam might like have autism or he's showing signs or whatever, there were so many like people that would be like, don't worry, it's okay, like just wait and see, like, you know, you don't know, like you won't know yet. Because like there were so many times where like we would say his name and he wouldn't like look at us, and it's just like, why is he not responding to his name? And then my uncle would be like, it's because you keep calling him Liam, but you also call him by his nicknames and he's getting confused with what his name really is. And so people would talk us out of it. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, let's stop calling him Buddy all the time and let's call him Liam. And maybe that will stick and he'll like realize that's what his name is. And so people would rationalize certain things that would have been signs, and then it causes you to not to just like brush it off, and then you wait even further, but then he still doesn't respond to his name, and then you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know? So
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. I mean, with my 1-year-old, he's had an adventurous life. He was 9 weeks early, 3 pounds, 9 weeks in the NICU. And with my, special ed background, I'm like hyper vigilant on every little move he makes.
You know the signs, whereas like people who are first-time parents that don't have any understanding of autism and don't have anybody in autism in their family, it's like you literally you don't know what you don't know, and so you're just like, is it not? There was one time after his diagnosis that I was in denial, where I was like, okay, maybe it's all just like in my head, maybe it's just in other people's head. And I remember like Will was out of town that weekend, and it was just me and Liam at home, and he had his back to me and he was playing with his books, because at that point, like after his regression, he kind of just like didn't really like show any interest in anybody, so like he would do his own thing by himself. And so I would be like, Liam, and he'd just be like kind of not paying attention. And then I like got like in front of his face and trying to like look in his eyes, and I was like, Liam, if you can hear me, I was like, grab the book. Or like I was just gave him some type of direction, like grab the book or look at me. Or like I said something like, if you can hear me, if you are in there, please like grab the book. And he didn't. And I was like it was one of those things where I was like, God, if he is truly not autistic, please just have him grab the book to just give me a sign and show me the truth so that I can just stop driving myself crazy about this. But yeah, he never grabbed the book. And so I was just like, all right, I think it's time that I just like
accept it, man. That's hard. And I'm like my Jack, my little guy, for like month 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, everybody's like, oh yeah, he's developing so nicely. But and my wife too, we're like, he's not showing anything to somebody else, but what I see is somebody who is very stoic, and he'll look at you and smile, but behind his eyes, like he's not there. He's disengaged. And so this is like my biggest red flag. And then he's not, babbling too much. But then once we got him into the PX doc, Dr. Stan, like it was within a week where his facial expressions started coming back, and he started doing like self-play. He would like chase the ball and like kind of babble, and you could tell he was having a good time. He started responding to his name. And some people are like, oh, he was just getting older and it's developmental. I don't believe that. I 100% believe in the neurologically focused adjustments that he was getting that opened those pathways for the nerves to start, sending those signals. And now the only thing I see is his speech, his babbling is probably a little slow. But then again, he is 9 weeks early. So they say they don't fully catch up till 2, but it's still in the back of my head,
Yeah, that is something that I want to do for Liam, is try to find a PX doctor. Because unfortunately, there's the closest one near where we're from right now is like 2.5 hours away.
Ooh.
But then like It's so weird. I literally listened to your episode with Dr. Tony yesterday, and he said that, I think if I remember correctly, he's up by Crystal Lake, which is literally my, like, right by my hometown.
Oh
And
yeah.
so if I just like go back home for like a couple months or whatever, or like a couple weeks, and like see if we
Oh,
can
they'll
get
do an
Liam in.
intensive. Yeah.
Yeah, like because like I would just drive down the street to take him there if like, and we would literally go see
Whoa.
Dr. Tony if that's where he is, because like literally my aunt is right down the street. So it's
Well,
so crazy how close. I was like, I moved away from him. Like, why did I do that?
let me know when you want to do it. I'll set you up.
Yeah, and it's so, another thing that's so weird is last weekend we were at a wedding and I met a chiropractor there, and he literally adjusted me at the wedding.
No
And
way.
yes, he adjusted me like 5 times. And then he, like, after he would adjust me, he's like, "Can you, like, are your eyes more clear? Like, can you see better?" And like when I looked around the room, I was like, I do see better. Like it was
Huh.
almost like everything was so much more clear, literally just from cracking my neck, that I was
Yeah.
able to see the room better
Yeah, it's wild.
instantly.
And it's like, I mean, there's a lot of people that knock on it like, oh, you're going to be addicted to it for the rest of your life. Once you start, you can't stop. Well, yeah, wouldn't you want to treat your nervous system for the rest of your
Yeah.
life?
If
You
anything, it's a
know?
good addiction to have
Yeah.
because it's benefiting your body.
Right, right. This is just craziness. Um, I know we talked a little bit about forceps and birth interventions and the
Hmm.
early days. Uh, what was going on in the early days with Liam? The birth story.
Yeah. So I didn't have any issues with my pregnancy. Luckily, I like listened to a pregnancy podcast because, you know, my OCD, I was like, I have to learn
Oh,
everything. And so I was listening to all these podcasts and stuff while I was pregnant. And one of the podcasts was a man who worked for a prenatal company. He's a chemist, and he's like, I specifically made the formula for our prenatals. He said one thing that people don't know is that not a lot of people can metabolize folic acid, which is in a lot of prenatal vitamins. So our prenatal has the metabolized form of folic acid in them, and a lot more women can absorb them. And so when I heard that, he didn't even say MTHFR in the podcast or anything, he just mentioned that. And I was
hmm.
like, maybe I should get these prenatals because this guy kind of sounds like he knows what he's talking about. So luckily, I did take prenatals my entire pregnancy that had methylfolate. I wasn't taking folic acid, but of course, I didn't know about folic acid being in food. So I was still eating like normal wheats and grains and all that that are fortified with folic acid. But at least I wasn't taking high dose prenatals with folic acid,
Oh,
and I was
wow.
taking methylfolate. But then, yeah, when I was pregnant with Liam and we were doing the delivery, the our doctor said that he got a little bit too big for me, and so he got stuck on my tailbone and we couldn't get him out. So I I've always been like super super small. Like the most I when I gave birth to Liam, I was 117 pounds, and he was born almost at 41 weeks. So he kind of
Oh,
like was cooking a little bit too long. And so he got too big, and so they had to pull him out with forceps. And so like literally they got the big forceps and they grab you and they pull you out with your by your head. And obviously, like you've heard from
did
Dr. Tony.
are you, I don't even know. Are you seeing this? Or you're on anesthesia and
Um
you're out?
No, I was awake.
You saw
So
it.
they gave me the epidural. So this is another thing. They gave me the epidural, and obviously, like, you can't feel anything from your waist down after you get the epidural. And so they're like making me push. I couldn't even tell if I was pushing. I was like, I think I can't tell if I'm just breathing really hard or if I'm like literally actually pushing. But there were times during my delivery that I had to intentionally prevent my eyes from rolling to the back of my head because that's how like drugged up I was.
Oh, wow, okay.
Like I remember like I was giving birth, and like there were times where like I had to like focus on not making my eyes roll to the back of my head because of the epidural.
Jeez.
Yeah. But they were able to get him out and everything, and I had never even suspected that forceps delivery could have contributed to his autism until I started like learning from Dr. Tony, and I was like, oh my gosh. And he says it creates the perfect storm, the ear infections and, you know, everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, the ear infections. I was like, that is like a
Yeah.
big part of our story.
How about the pregnancy, the 9 months? Was it stressful, trauma
No,
filled, or
I had a
smooth
really great
sail?
pregnancy. Yeah. I had
Okay.
no issues. I actually, like I said, I was working for a promotional products company before Liam was born. And there were times where I was like 9 months pregnant and I was like working, helping them pack orders in the warehouse. Like I had like I was not tired. I was not nothing. I probably
Mhm.
was the methylfolate. Like I was like the best
Yeah.
I've ever been in my life.
Cruising.
Probably because I had methylfolate for the first time in my life and I have MTHFR, so I've been needing it my whole life. But yeah, I finally, I had like a smooth pregnancy, never had morning sickness or anything.
Wow.
And then after Liam was born, he was like developing normal. Like there was never any question about anything. It's so funny too because actually, like I always like was scared about getting him vaccinated because of like the rumors and stuff about vaccinations, and so
Mhm.
I always kind of like braced myself when he would get vaccinated. And there was one time where my aunt came and visited and he was developing normal. And I literally said to her, I was like, if anybody were to tell me that my child has autism, I wouldn't believe them. I was like, there's no way. And this was just a random conversation that we were having because of vaccines. But I
Okay.
said to her, I was just like, there's no way that anybody could tell me that my child has autism because there's no signs or anything. And then it's so weird now because now I think back to the fact that we had that conversation and I was like, how did we go from that to like where we are now? You
Right.
know? And then also because she's from Chicago and she would come and visit every couple months, when she came and visited the like however many months after that, she literally told me, she's like, he's like a different baby. Because she said like she would tickle him and he would laugh, laugh, laugh. But then when she came to visit, she would tickle him and he would pull away and not laugh. And she's like,
Mm.
what's going on? Like, why isn't he like laughing at the same things that he would laugh at or like play around the same way that he did before? And so we didn't really notice the signs or like we didn't really see the difference because we saw him every day. But she was like, no, Stephanie, something is up. Like, he's not the same baby. And that was what got me thinking, like, And then that was like, that was like when that was after like the stimming had begun and everything.
After. Okay.
Yeah, the stimming started and he started pulling away and not making eye contact. It literally went from me being like the only thing he would notice in the room. Like I would like light up his world and he would be so obsessed with me and he would be obsessed with our dog and he would want to like crawl around the house like looking for her. We would call out for her like, Callie, come here. And he would look around and he'd go, ah, and like to see if she would come. And then like I would set like let Callie outside in the backyard and we would open up the window and we'd go to the window and we'd call for her to see if she'd come to the window. And I'd say, Callie, where are you? And he'd be like, ah, and stuff like that out the window, trying to like mimic me and everything. And then now he doesn't even pay any attention to her. She's just like invisible to him.
Hmm.
And also, like when we would go visit my aunt up in Chicago, she has a pit bull, and Liam would be in his little like walker thing, and he'd run around the entire house chasing their dog around. And now he just doesn't want anything to do with their dog. And so it's like a complete 180 of like how emotional he was, and like he just wanted all of this attention and affection to literally not even noticing when I would walk in the room. Like I would drop him off back when I was on maternity leave for a little bit and then I went back to work for the promotional products company before I like stopped working for good. And when I would go to work, I would drop him off at my mother-in-law's house and he wouldn't really notice when I would leave. I'd be like, bye, Liam, mama's leaving. And he wouldn't notice or like even like look at me when I was leaving the door. And then I'd come back after like being gone all day and he wouldn't notice me would come in. He would be playing. If I would come up in front of him and make eye contact, I'd be like, hi. And he still wouldn't really like react. And it's just like, what happened? You
Yeah.
know, like
What
he
is that?
literally it felt like he forgot who I was. And all
Just
of that happened after like basically I have his medical time. This is
there we
like
go.
this is
So,
like the extent of my like bipolar. I literally went through I like went through we have my chart. I don't know if you're familiar
mhm.
with that. We have my chart, and I went through all of my messages with my doctor and all the timestamps. I went through all of his vaccinations and the timestamps. I went through all of the summaries of the doctor visits because she put in the notes and stuff. And I also went through all of his antibiotics and when he was given those. I literally put together this entire timeline so I could see the patterns. And then I also would go through the videos and the pictures and stuff on my camera roll to see the timestamps of like when I started recording him not like looking at me or not responding, so that I could see like how does it align with this, and then also like just off of memory and stuff too.
Wow.
Yeah, but
So I don't know. I don't know how anyone doesn't like believe your story. I mean,
yeah, basically Liam had 35 vaccines by age 2, and at 9 weeks he got 8 vaccines in one day. And so
at
let me just
9 weeks.
At 9 weeks old, he had 8 vaccines in one day. And then 2 months later, he had another 7 in one day. And then 2 months after that, he got another 8. So he got 16. Is that 16?
23 in 4 months' time?
Is it 23? 8 plus 7 plus 8. 8 means 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
24.
Within
16,
6
23.
months. Within 6 months.
Within 6 months.
Yes.
And growing up, I got 12 and 18 years.
Yes. I had 17 vaccines by age 30. And he received double the amount that I received in my entire life by the time he turned 2. And think of how your brain is developing at that age. Your immune system is developing, your brain is developing, your organs are still maturing. Like, there's just so many things that are so fragile and sensitive at that period of development. Your brain is literally going through like rapid growth periods. Mm-hmm. And then we're like giving them all this stuff. And I breastfed him for 3 weeks. And then I couldn't do it anymore. It was so painful. Honestly, that was like one of the most painful things I've ever had to go through. And but I was producing so much milk, but it was so painful. So I couldn't do it after 3 weeks, and we switched him to formula.
Which one?
We were doing Enfamil.
It's full of corn syrup.
Corn syrup, it has corn syrup, folic acid, a lot of folic acid. They push that
on us hardcore. And we're like,
yeah. Honestly, it's
garbage.
The reason why we chose that one is because that is what the hospital like gave us to take home.
Right.
And so we were like, well, we don't want to mix all these different formulas. We'll just keep him with one formula. And so it's like, that's what the hospital gave us and that's what they recommended. So why would we think that that wasn't what he should be getting? But also, do you remember that formula shortage? This was all happening during the formula shortage too. So this was back when you go into the store and there's literally one can of like formula left on the shelf and all of them are cleared out because Abbott had that like recall or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so there were times where we didn't even know if we were going to be able to find his formula. And then we restarted our Costco membership just so that we could get his formula. So we had to like, pay the whole like Costco membership fee just so that we could get the formula because we couldn't find it anywhere else. And we didn't want to like start switching his formula and risk him getting sick and everything.
Right. It's such a, thankfully, Jack, he was like, he had reaction to like 7 different formulas. Mm-hmm. And finally now he has goat milk.
Oh, yeah. That's good, though, because that's another thing in the formula is the cow proteins. And now they're realizing that the cow proteins are contributing to cerebral folate deficiency. Like that's one of the things that is triggering the autoantibodies in the brain and blocking the folate from getting into the brain. And so that's another thing that's in the formula is the cow proteins contributing to cerebral folate deficiency and all the folic acid, which is not good for MTHFR people, and all of like the syrups and the oils and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. So then what, he started to regress. Oh, so now it's 2026 and autism is talked more than anything. and they rolled back the vaccine schedule, and they're
Mm-hmm.
finally starting to like shed light on, oh, maybe these are too many shots.
Yeah.
But this is after the fact for you.
Yeah.
Does that make you angry, hopeful? Like, what does that do for you?
Um, yeah, it's kind of frustrating that we're like 3 years too late on that.
Right.
But at the same time, like even though they're recommending the vaccines differently, are the pediatricians even like honoring that? I'm not sure. I'm not that I don't know. I will say though, our pediatrician that has like I don't agree with like the decisions that she made now, but she's like a really really wonderful lady. She's super sweet, never rushed us. She's so gentle with Liam, and you can tell that she really cares and has a big heart for the kids. But I truly just think that she doesn't know what she doesn't know, and she thought
Uh,
she was doing everything right, and she's just going along with what she's been taught is the right thing to do. And so yeah, it sucks because I wish that maybe these pediatricians knew more about biology, because that's another thing. I have one of my family members, it's also friends with a pediatrician, and my family member said, would you feel comfortable giving a baby 8 vaccines in one day? And the pediatrician was like, yeah, I'm all for the combination shots. Right. And then also she said, okay, well, what about giving vaccines to a baby who has an ear infection? And he said he didn't see anything wrong with that either. And I'm like, gosh, like, these are the things that I'm learning that you shouldn't do because the immune system
right.
is already compromised. So why are you going to give baby something that is going to be another hit to their immune system when their immune system is already fighting off an infection? Like with Liam, he had an ear infection and he got 5 vaccines that day, and he had just finished like so. I feel like I'm jumping around. The thing is,
I'm
I'll
tracking.
start. I'll start from the beginning. That way, it
Yeah,
kind of all
yeah.
makes sense. But so from the get go, while I was pregnant with Liam, I have negative blood type, so I had to get the Rogam shot, which is a shot that they give to pregnant women with negative blood type, just in case their baby also has like positive blood. Apparently, women that have negative blood type, they have antibodies in their blood that will go attack the baby if it detects different blood because it thinks that the baby is like a foreign object or a foreign entity. And so then it goes attacks the baby because it thinks that the baby is like not within the body or like not part of like the mom's body or whatever. And so I had to get the Rogam shot to prevent my antibodies for going to attack Liam if Liam had positive blood type, which he does. So that was
Is
like, I guess it,
is that that's accurate? That's what happens?
yeah.
Or is that just like
I'm
propaganda to
assuming that
take the
is
shot?
I am assuming that is what happens,
Okay,
but
okay,
yeah, that's what
okay.
I was told is that if you have negative blood type, your
Okay.
blood will form antibodies and go attack the baby if the baby does not have negative blood type as well, because it
Okay.
sees the baby as like a foreign entity. And so then, of course, now in retrospect, I've heard that that can contribute to neurodevelopment of the fetus. And another thing that's really weird, and like this could just be literally coincidence, but when I got the Rogam shot, that was the one and only time I literally felt Liam spaz, like inside
Oh,
me. Yeah, like he always like do some moves, but when I got the Rogam shot, I literally felt him like spaz like that, like
wow.
inside me, and I was like,
Like
oh,
right
that was weird.
away?
Like he jolted, yes, like right away. And I don't, and like I like said that to somebody, and they're like, it's probably because you tensed up as soon as you got the shot, and it caused him to react. But I don't know.
How
Obviously, like it would be way too instantaneous to really like to assume that there probably was an effect. But I just think that's just so weird that he like did a twist and turn and jolt inside me
how
when I
pregnant
got
were
the.
you? How far along?
Oh, I don't remember.
For the shot? Okay.
Definitely a bit. I was far enough along to
Well, you could
feel him
feel
inside
him.
me. Yeah.
All right.
And then I also got the Tdap. Yeah, the Tdap shot while I was pregnant as well, which is 3: tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis.
Pertussis,
I
yeah.
think that they recommend that for all pregnant women. So, because that was another thing when I was kind of like weary about getting it, but every time I had gone into my like gynae appointment after that, my doctor kept saying, "Did you get your shot yet? Did you get your shot? You can't give birth until you get that shot." Like she would keep saying that, and I'm like, okay, like, and then so So basically, I feel like I had to get that shot.
Right.
But it's like one of those things. I don't know if it's like if it's really like up to you to get it, but it like was being pressed on me, so I thought it was one of those things like I have to do this before I give birth. But they don't tell you if it's like mandatory or not, or if it's just a recommendation. They just say like you're due for this, and then they checking up.
And if you don't do it, then they can't help you.
Oh, I'm sure that they can. I mean, I don't know. I didn't
Go
even,
find someone else.
like, yeah, I doubt that probably is what it is, but I didn't even like think anything of it. I was like, okay, like I'll go get vaccinated. But they did also recommend the COVID shot, and that one I was like, no, I'm not doing that one, just because I just feel like, I don't know, I just felt like that one's kind of iffy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But so I got the Rogam shot, I got the Tdap shot, and then Liam was born. He got Hep B and vitamin K and his circumcision.
Like day one?
Yes. All day one. Well, technically, Liam was born at like 5 p.m., and so he didn't have those things until the next morning.
Okay.
But then, okay, so yeah, Liam had high bilirubin, which is like when your skin is like yellow, you got jaundice and everything.
Yeah,
and so I used to ask them like, what? It got to the point where his bilirubin was going up a couple of days after he was born, and our doctor was like, I want you to like bring him in so we can monitor him, put him like near the windows, but if his bilirubin doesn't go back down, we're going to have to do light therapy on him. And so I was asking, I was like, what is causing this? Like, why is like, what is causing this to happen? And she was like, oh, it's the toxins in your breast milk. And I was like, oh, really? And she was like, yeah, the toxins in your breast milk. He's having hard time with his liver detoxing the toxins out of your breast milk, and it's causing him to have bilirubin.
Or it's the toxins that was just injected into him.
I was just like, but like obviously in retrospect, I think back now and I'm like, was I being gaslit? I don't know. Because I'm like, what about the fact,
blame it on
like,
the mom?
Because part of me is like, isn't your breast milk, especially when it's colostrum, isn't that the best thing that you can give your baby? But now you're telling me that my breast milk has toxins and that's what's causing his bilirubin. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. But I will say I do have a friend that just had a baby, and her baby did not get Hep B, but also had bilirubin. So I don't know.
Okay.
But
everyone's different.
I was going to say, what about vitamin K? But I can't remember if she had a boy or girl. But
so this is on top of the birth interventions, and
on top of him being pulled out with forceps.
Out.
Yeah.
And to learn more about that, go back and listen to Dr. Tony and I's podcast.
I listened to it yesterday.
Yeah, and of his son who came out fast, and then his vagus nerve. Crazy story.
My jaw was on the floor.
Yeah, I know. I was losing it. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I heard it like, I didn't hear the full story, but I knew there was something like that going into it. But I just couldn't even fathom it. And then knowing Dr. Tony, just jumping in there and doing adjustments before the umbilical cord was cut. Like, this was legendary.
That's crazy. But they say like the baby's bones are so much more like flexible and stuff like at that age.
Right. Which is like, it's funny too, though. They come out and like, watch their head.
Yeah, right.
Be so careful. Like,
but then when they're pulling them out, they're like, oh.
They come out.
I mean, obviously, I don't know if that's really how they're pulling them out, but
I think it is.
But Dr. Tony said you don't want to see a video of that, and it's not a pretty sight.
I'm still trying to hear how they got Jack out. Oh, he just fell. He's crying. Oh, I can't find the records. They won't get back to me, but I'm gonna find out. Yeah, we'll see.
Was he born C-section?
Yeah. Emergency cease. Like, he was the perfect storm child, minus vaccines.
When did you start getting him adjusted?
Oh, that was until he was probably 9 months.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish it was sooner. I found out about all that from the podcast. A friend referred me to a PX doc, and then Dr. Hafer's episode. And she went through the whole neurochiro stuff, and the whole episode, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I need to get the whole family in there. And so that's how it all started for me.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Gosh, I was going to say something, and I totally forgot what it was. Oh, I was gonna say just yesterday somebody recommended a PX doctor because like literally that's why I started listening to your podcast with Dr. Tony yesterday is because somebody in my comments said you should look into PX doctors because
Nice.
it's the only thing that actually like made a difference, and the only regret that I have with them is that we didn't start sooner. And I was just like, oh,
Yeah, I know. It's not too late though. I mean, it's helping me. I
yeah,
can feel like for as an adult, I just feel more like base,
yeah.
more grounded.
I feel like I probably need that too.
Yeah. All right. So he had the Hep B, vitamin K.
Yeah, because I do feel like a lot of these decisions that I made led up to or like played a role in his neurodevelopment, especially like me agreeing to the vaccines, which it wasn't like they never said like these are the vaccines that we're going to give him today. It was just like these are the vaccines he's due for. And so we're going to have him get these. And I'm like, okay. But I was never like, well, which one are they? Or like how many? I never like asked those questions, but I wish I did. But I would have
Hmm.
never thought that they would be giving more than three at a time, you know?
Right, right. Because you had a
So,
post, or maybe it was in your series about how he got 8-1, and then I read
mhm,
some of the comments, and some people
mhm.
were like, "How could you do that?" Blah blah blah. You're like,
Yeah.
"Shut up."
Yeah,
Um,
people are just like, how could you like let that happen? And I'm like, I feel like I'm not even the one who should know. Like I feel like these doctors are the ones that should know better. We're just the parents that are telling like these doctors are telling us. But now I've come to realize that we have to be our own doctors.
mhm. Yeah, long are the days where you can actually take it at face value. You can't. You just
I just
can't.
think of if we didn't have the internet, like we wouldn't be have any other means of like learning this stuff unless we go out to the library and find books about it. But there's only so many books you can find that are related to your specific experiences, especially your combination of experiences.
Right. So what would you say? Or all right. So we're at 4 months now. What? Keep going.
So after the baby Brezza, um, yeah, I put in the notes. It was only mixing 1/4 of the recommended serving per feeding. So then 2 months, which is he was like 9 weeks old at this point. He got the 8 vaccines in one. He got Hep B, rotavirus, pneumonia, DTaP, Hib, and polio. And then DTaP is three. So you, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hep B, rotavirus, pneumonia, and then you have Hep B, rotavirus, pneumonia, DTaP, Hib, and polio.
Yeah,
So
eight.
yeah, because yeah, the DTaP, Hib, and polio is the 5-in-1. It's called the Pentacell. So that's five, and then he got pneumonia, rotavirus, and Hep B along with the Pentacell. And so that was 8-in-1 visit. And then, oh, look, 2 weeks later, Liam went to the doctor for viral symptoms. He had 103 fever, coughing, congestion. We tested him for flu, COVID, and RSV, and he was negative for all. So they were like, yeah, he just has some viral infection. Send him home, give him Tylenol. And of course, he got sick 2 weeks after his vaccine. So it's like you shot the immune system, and then he got sick after.
Mm-hmm. Which
So
is said
then
is normal. It's
And
normal.
then,
It
yeah. And
happens.
then a month later, he went back to his 4 month checkup and he got 7 more shots. He got rotavirus pneumonia and then the Pentacell again. So
Yeah.
Pentacell is five. And then, yeah, rotavirus and pneumonia. So that was seven.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 months later, he got eight again. And then a month later, we took him to a dermatologist because he got eczema. So like the perfect storm is beginning,
Mm-hmm.
the skin issues, and so yeah, we took him to our we took him to like a specialist, like a dermatologist, and she gave him
And we're in like
prescription steroid
20,
cream.
2024 right now.
This is 2023 still.
23. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's still like COVID's still pretty heavy.
Yeah.
It was like I mean, I guess we're through COVID craze by then, but I mean, pediatrician offices are still told like if there was ever even more of a rush to get all the shots, it was right in this time because
Yeah.
like
If anything, they're like, oh, COVID, like we got to make sure everyone's getting vaccinated.
right.
But yeah, so we had the skin issues, and our dermatologist gave us prescription steroid cream to put on his cheeks. And then we got a month later, we contacted the doctor because he started like itching at his privates and like pulling at his privates a lot. And I didn't know why. And so I thought maybe he has like some type of like infection or like some, but there was no visual symptom. You couldn't see anything there. Like if you were looking at, there was nothing, no visual symptoms that there was any irritation. Just based on his behavior, he was like constantly pulling at his diaper. And so we brought him in, and instead of addressing the fact that he was pulling out his diaper, she noticed that he had a double ear infection. And so she said, let's give him amoxicillin. So he had amoxicillin for 10 days. Also, I don't know why we did this, but I also have written down that we did a blood test and it says that the blood test showed abnormalities. Not sure what that means about abnormalities, but his blood test showed abnormalities when he had the double ear infection. He was pulling at his diaper, and he got the amoxicillin for 10 days. So that the ear infection went away, and so it was good. Like the amoxicillin worked. And then fast forward at his 12-month checkup, this is like where it all began. Hep A, chickenpox, and MMR, which is 3. So he got 5 that day. And I've been hearing now, don't give MMR with Hep A. I don't know why. That's just like a thing that I'm hearing now. Like, don't give those two together. Well, he got them together, and he also got chickenpox on top of it. And then also they had him do a lead test where they pricked his finger to test his blood for lead. They said that if they did the lead test before the vaccines, it would have offset the results. So they had us do the lead test first upstairs, like in whatever department. Then they had us come back down and get his vaccines after.
Wow.
So then.
So all the regression started after the 12-month, but up until that point, he already had like.
He was already getting, I think that there was things happening in the background of like his biology that had happened like previously that were kind of like Dr. Tony says, creating the perfect storm inside his body. And then the behaviors didn't manifest until he got those 5 vaccines. But so after he got those 5 vaccines at his 1-year checkup, I messaged Dr. This is like one of my messages. I noticed 6 days after that checkup, I said, what is the recommended Tylenol dosage for Liam? And she like told me whatever. So that was my sign of clearly he was having some type of reaction and he needed Tylenol. My dog is like wanting to go outside real fast. Hold on.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. All right.
Man.
So basically, yeah, 6 days after he got those 5 vaccines, I messaged Dr. about Tylenol. And so she gave me the Tylenol dosage, which now I'm learning you shouldn't give Tylenol because it depletes your glutathione, and he has MTHFR, so he already has a harder time replenishing his glutathione levels, which is needed for detox. I asked about Tylenol dosage, and she told me, and then a month later, I messaged her and I said, I'm noticing that Liam is pulling at his ears and he's like running back and forth, shaking his head. So one of the things that I just started noticing in him that like he never did before is he would start running back and forth, like in the room, like one side of the room to the other side, back and forth. Like literally he would do it for like 20 minutes straight if we didn't stop him. And it was like, the whole time, like running back and forth, like vocal stimming, which I would call it he's humming. And I didn't know like why he was doing it or like what the reason for it was. Obviously now that I've learned, I know what stimming is, but his body was dysregulated.
In the moment though, You were just like, oh, he's just
We would just try
doing
to like
his
get him to
thing.
calm down. We'd be like, come on, Liam, come sit down, like calm down, like let's sit down. And he just did not want to sit still. Like he just like couldn't. He was just constantly going like, and so then I'm like, what, why is he doing this? And so that's when I contacted the doctor, and I'm just like, we're having like, he's showing these weird symptoms and he's humming. So we brought him in the next day, and I said, you know, he's been running back and forth. And when he would run back and forth and hand flap, he would do this with his eyes closed. So he would run back and forth and he would do it with his eyes. Sorry, I realized I don't have my microphone.
Yeah.
So he would run back and forth and he'd do it with his eyes closed. And I would get nervous that he's going to like run into something, because he just, I was like nervous that he was going to hurt himself. And so our doctor, we brought him in and she did a checkup on him, and she said, oh yeah, he has a double ear infection again. And she said that those behaviors were because of his ear infection. And so she said, we'll put him on amoxicillin again for 10 days. And basically we put him on amoxicillin for 10 days, and he was still running back and forth and doing the same behaviors. And so I said, maybe his ear infection didn't go away, or like, why is this happening again? So I contacted her again and I said, hey, we finished the prescription, but he's still doing the same behaviors. And I said, I noticed that we do have a wellness visit coming up this week. Should we hold off and come like when our next appointment is, or should we come in now? And it was like 3 days in advance or whatever. And she said, if he doesn't have an ear infection, just wait another 3 days and come in when your wellness visit is scheduled. And so I said, okay. And so we brought him in for his wellness visit. She checked and she said he does still have ear infection. And so she said, we'll give him another round of antibiotics. And this time she said, instead of doing amoxicillin, we'll do Omnicef because it's a little bit stronger. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, cool. And so she also said he is due for his vaccines. And so we're going to give him some more vaccines. And so she gave him 5 more.
5 more.
5 more vaccines.
Even though they know it's ear infection.
Yeah. So like he has an ear infection still, and she said, okay, we'll give him 5 more vaccines. Start taking the new antibiotics tonight, even though we just finished a round of 10 antibiotics like a couple days prior. So then we did the 10 days of the second round of antibiotics, and his ear infection still didn't clear, and he was still doing the same behaviors. And so I brought him in a third time, and I said, he's still doing the same thing, blah, blah, blah. So then she said, let's send him to the ENT and we'll have his ears checked. Okay. And so we sent him to the ENT, and he also was having fever at this time too. Looking at my notes, it says that he had 101 fever on and off throughout the week. So his fever was coming and going and coming and going and coming and going. And so basically we had him evaluated. The doctor said, yeah, if he's not responding to these antibiotics, then we should put tubes in. So then they put him under anesthesia to put the tubes in. And then when he got the tubes out, he was still doing the stimming behaviors. And I remember, and we also did a hearing test, and he passed the hearing test. So then I remember that day the doctor said, the ENT specialist said, okay, well, he passed his hearing test after the tubes. The tubes are great. Unfortunately, we know that the tubes or the ears are not the reason for his behaviors now, because the tubes are and the ears are like good, and he's still doing the same behaviors. So then he still had an ear infection. Well, hold on, let me see. He had the tubes put in November 1st. He passed his hearing test November 10th. And then a month later, we went back for another ear infection. Oh, man. Yeah. And he was RSV positive too, looking at this. So yeah, in December.
But he had the RSV shot.
I don't think he had RSV shot, no.
Okay.
But he did have RSV Oh wait, no, he was RSV negative. But yeah, so this was his first time having RSV. It says Liam was RSV positive with a double ear infection. So then they put him on Augmentin, which is even stronger than Omnicef and amoxicillin, according to my research, for another 10 days. And unfortunately, our doctor was like busy. And so after that, those antibiotics were done, he still had a double ear infection because he was pulling at his ears and had the fever. And so we couldn't see our normal pediatrician because she was so booked up. And so we had to see another pediatrician in her practice. That pediatrician, it says he had fever, congestion, coughing, ear pain, still double ear infection. And then she prescribed him Omnicef for another 10 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. So yeah, he had 5 rounds of antibiotics. The first one was February 2023, and the last one was December 2023. So he had 5 rounds of antibiotics within like 11 months. Like, and I don't know how much you know about like antibiotics, but they wipe out your gut bacteria. And when you don't have good gut bacteria to fight off any bad gut bacteria or yeast or mold or whatever that comes in your gut, then they start to overgrow and they start to colonize in your gut, and it starts to create a whole bunch of neurological symptoms because they're releasing like toxic metabolites into the bloodstream, which is then creating immune responses. And
so we got a lot of vaccines. We got interventions.
Yeah.
We got forceps, infections, vaccines, antibiotics,
and
fevers.
Anesthesia 3 times. So after the tubes got put in. So after the last round of antibiotics, which was the 5th round of antibiotics that same year, he then 2 weeks later gets the Hep A shot.
Oh my god!
Like, it's literally just like every time he starts to recover, we're like, bam, let's give him one more thing. So then he got Hep A shot 2 weeks after his last round of antibiotics, and then that is when I got that video of him in the bathtub where I was like, Liam, and he would not look up. That is when, like, looking at the timestamp, that is around this time.
Okay.
And then Liam was diagnosed with moderate to severe autism 2 months after that.
2 months.
And then after that, he ended up having a cyst. A cyst started growing in his eye socket. So, and with him being autistic and eloping and stimming and everything, when we had the MRI, they were like, I don't think he's going to be able to sit still in the MRI. And we really need to do like one and done to make sure we get it right. Because I don't know, our MRIs have radiation or something. I'm not sure. But so they said, we only want to do it one time.
Contrast.
Yeah, something like that. And so they said we should put him under anesthesia to do this MRI. So we put him under anesthesia, did the MRI, got the scans of his cyst. Then they had to put him under anesthesia again to remove the cyst. They said it was attached to the bone, so they had to shave off some of his bone to make sure they got the entire cyst out. And basically and then that's like all. And also, like, throughout all of that, he also had roseola after his dermoid cyst. That was the last issue.
Roseola. One of my kids had that, yeah.
Really? Did they get the measles-like rash after?
Yeah, they got but
it was like, they get high fever. Like Liam had I think he had like 103.5, and Will was out of town that day or that weekend. So I was just with him by myself. And then when Will got back is when the rash comes out. After the fever goes away, they come out with the rash. Right. And we thought he had the measles, and we took him, and they were like, first they diagnosed him with Christmas tree rash at Children's Hospital. And then we took him to a pediatrician, not our pediatrician, but one that was within her practice. Because like I said, our pediatrician is like so popular. She's so booked up. She's on the news in our in our hometown.
Oh,
Like they
wow.
feature her on the news, and she has like a title in our hometown.
She's like the big deal.
Yeah, so she was very booked up, and so then we saw somebody else in her practice, and they said, no, 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 he has roseola. But throughout all of that whole medical timeline, every time he had ear infections or vaccines or whatever, we were told to give him Tylenol. So he was getting Tylenol throughout all of that. Also, after he started having allergies, and so we were giving him Zyrtec every single day, which now I've been learning deplete some of your B vitamins. And so just so many things that like happened that were like all these hits to his body over and over and over. Right when he was about to recover, we just went in with another shot or like another ear infection or another antibiotic, and he was never able to get back to baseline.
So would you say the system cheated you for sure?
I feel like people don't realize how much medical intervention actually contributes to neurodevelopment. At least that's what I've been learning. And yeah, now that I've been doing all the research, and we did all the testing now too.
Right. What are the tests? What are all those?
So we did an organic acids test, which tells you things like metabolism, mitochondrial health, your vitamin markers, neurotransmitter markers, detoxification markers, and gut like bacteria and yeast markers. So, of course, with all the antibiotic use, I assumed that his gut probably had some issues, which now that we did the testing, he does have clostridia overgrowth, which clostridia, that affects the body's ability to convert dopamine into norepinephrine. It affects the dopamine synthesis. And so when your body can't convert dopamine into norepinephrine, you get high dopamine levels. And so we also did neurotransmitter test. So looking at his neurotransmitters, now that we see the overgrowth of Clostridium, which is a bacteria, his dopamine levels, the normal healthy range is between 200 and 700, and Liam's is at 870. So he's like out in this red range out here. And so reading the commentary that the person who analyzed his report says is that it is elevated dopamine is associated with increased worry, distrust, Elevated dopamine is associated, with increased worry, distrust of others, decreased ability to interact socially, and is often found in patients with attention deficits and hyperactivity disorders. And I was like, yeah, that pretty much sums up Liam. And then also, so his dopamine is definitely showing ADHD, which his behaviors are showing ADHD. And I believe that has to do with the Clostridium. And then also he has 3 different elevated yeast markers. So get this. Okay, so with these elevated markers, first we saw a functional medicine doctor, and then now we're seeing a naturopath. And we did the test.
Are they telling you what tests to do, or you're just figuring it out?
I'm figuring it out, but what I've been learning, they're confirming, yeah, we need to do this test and stuff.
Okay.
So I agree with the things that they were recommending that we do. And just
real quick, for a parent, if you don't want to find what tests to do, just find a biomed practitioner.
Yeah, because they'll be able to figure out, based on the behaviors, based on your child's medical timeline, like I have with Liam's, they'll be able to tell you what tests would probably be most beneficial.
And
because they know what the root causes are and what to look for.
There was a great biomed practitioner recently on the show, Becky. So go back and listen to Becky's episodes.
I definitely do. But so our functional medicine doctor, she said that with Liam's yeast and bacterial markers that she's seeing, she said that he is basically drunk all the time.
Whoa.
So like basically like the yeast and the bacteria, they give off like toxic byproducts
That's
or
why
like
he's always so happy.
I know, right? And I think that's why like all these like kids who have like overgrowths of yeast in their gut are giggling at nothing
There's
because they're
just-
like, but so basically she said because of the elevated markers of like yeast and bacteria in his gut and because they release alcohol into the bloodstream, she said with these markers, if he blew a breathalyzer, he would probably blow over the legal limit to drive. Yeah. And I'm like, really? I did not know that was a thing.
for a three and a
And
half
so,
year old.
yeah, he's like drunk. And so she
Wow.
was just like, that's why like a lot of kids are like, they appear to have like giddy behaviors and tipsy. And like he has horrible balance. He's always kind of like falling over and stuff. And it's because all of these gut and yeasts are releasing alcohol into his bloodstream.
Wow.
Yeah. But like nobody would know that that's what's happening just by looking at his behaviors alone. Like it's not
Right.
until you do these tests that you realize like what's actually driving the behaviors.
Well, and that's the misconception of autism is diagnosed on behaviors,
Yeah, and
and
then it's told you that it's just genetic.
and it's
But it's like,
just
but this isn't genetic. Like,
no. What? So what? Where do you go from here? You have that information now, and he gets on a bunch of.
so another thing that we've been working with our functional medicine doctor here locally, but then we're also seeing Dr. Sonia Doherty, and she's from Canada, and she's with Natural Care Clinic, and I have her on a lot of my videos, and so she has a really great video about fecal loading, and this is something that we just tested Liam for last week. So we took him to have a bowel X-ray done, and even before we took him to have the bowel X-ray, he passed stool before we left, and so you would think like, okay, he just like he pooped, and so he's good. But
Mm-hmm.
when they did the stool X-ray, the results showed that he has a prominent amount of stool like built up in his colon still. And so when I was talking to Dr. Sonia, she said, yeah, we want to check him for fecal loading because a lot of kids are constipated and they don't even know, or like that the parents don't even know, especially because they're nonverbal and they can't like explain it or anything. And so I said to her, I was like, oh, well, Liam's probably not constipated because he goes every day. And but his stool's very, very soft and like kind of diarrhea-y. And she goes, diarrhea is one of the worst like types of constipation. Like people don't even know that diarrhea is a type of constipation. And so we did this fecal loading test to see, and he does have leftover like stool backed up in his colon. And so she
Mm-hmm.
said a lot of these kids, it's impacting like their immune response. It's impacting their speech development. A lot of the microbes will like live in there. So basically, what she says, fecal loading is you think of like the intestinal wall like this, and the intestinal wall is coated with like mucus. And as the stool passes, it starts to coat the inside of the intestinal wall. And as it starts to coat more and more and more, you kind of get like a smaller,
Oh,
kind of like your heart, your arteries, your heart. If you start getting fat in your arteries, and the arteries start to get smaller and smaller.
strange. Yeah.
And so basically, we're going to have to, I think what she wants to do, which I don't talk to her until Friday, but I think we're going to do a bowel flush.
Mm-hmm.
And the bowel flush should help get all of the old stool out of the colon. She said it's calcified stool, so it's like hard and bark like, and it's like stuck in there, and it's stuck so heavily stuck in the like mucus that it won't come out with just normal,
Like a colon
which
cleanse.
yeah. So we're going to have to do like actual treatment to get rid of this. And so this is
Wow.
something that I'd never even heard any doctors talk about this until her. And so I think maybe this is a big piece of the puzzle that not a lot of parents know about is like
Right.
fecal loading.
Uh-huh.
And so she has a video on YouTube about fecal loading that maybe a lot of parents would find informational. But she says a lot of the yeast and the microbes are living in that biofilm, like in all of that. And so she
Wow.
said when you flush out the old stool, a lot of those microbes and yeast get flushed out with it. And that's a good way to get rid of them too, as along with supporting the gut ecosystem. I think Liam has leaky gut, so we're trying to help heal the gut lining as well and all that.
So you're, man. It's exhausting. How do you keep going? You just got to figure it out. You got to do it.
My yeah, it's my OCPD that keeps me going
Yeah. Because
because
I
I care
mean,
so much.
not only do you have all the testing and the medical stuff you're doing, you have him
Mhm.
in therapy, you have him in school. What does he do when he gets home? Cruise around?
He'll run around. We have a sensory room basically, and so it
Hmm.
has a bunch of things for him to climb on. He loves to climb and crash onto things, and yeah, he's very active. He likes to run around outside. He loves his tablet. He likes to sing and he likes to read. He's obsessed with books. Like
Oh,
literally, he's obsessed with books. And that was one of the things he was showing signs of hyperlexia back when he had just turned 2, and I was like, what does this word start with? What does this word start with? And he would pull the letters of the alphabet like and tell me like what that word started with.
uh-huh.
And so he was like showing signs of like being very interested in letters and numbers from the get-go, and so he's just always gravitated to books.
That's awesome. Is he go to school every day?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So what's a day in the life look like for you?
I basically wake up, I make Liam's vitamin milk. Basically, we do organic almond milk. And I put all of his vitamins in there. So a lot of the testing that we did showed us what Liam's vitamin deficiencies are. So
Yeah.
his vitamin deficiencies, now that we know what those are, I we have targeted supplementation for
Okay.
his vitamin deficiencies, and I mix it in with his milk. And I send him off to school, and his therapists know to make sure that he drinks it while he's there and drink it in the morning. I'm usually doing my thing, my appointments, my errands, whatever, cleaning and taking care of my stuff. And then I pick him up, and usually we come home and we go for a walk. I always try to get a walk in every day. And then he goes down for a nap, and then we wake up and we play. And I'm usually trying to cook for him. He's got a big appetite, but he also still only likes his like safe foods.
Hmm.
But so we're trying to transition the safe foods and everything into more acceptable, like diet related, you know, all those things that will help with the gut. Because
Okay.
honestly, basically, what Dr. Sanya has us doing is we're cutting out gluten and dairy, but also all grains. And I don't really hear many doctors talk about that. They kind of just focus on like gluten and dairy only. But Dr. Sanya says that the grains convert to sugar in the body, and then that feeds all the gut microbes. And so you want to starve the gut microbes by stopping all the sugar that you're feeding them. And so you have to cut the carbs out of the diet because the carbs are sugar once they are in the
Right.
body. And
Right.
so, yeah, we're cutting out all of the grains as well. And so that has been a whole transition.
It's just so many similarities to cancer.
Yeah.
And that's I went to an autism conference back in April, Autism Health. There's another
Hmm.
one coming up this April. I'll send you
Ooh.
a link. You should go.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's here in San Diego. But I went to learn about autism, and then I was just walking around to all the therapies and talking to all the scientists, and I'm like, "What would you do for cancer?" They're like, "It's like all the same.
Yeah.
You need to support the body. You need to figure out what you're depleted in, and then you need to
Hmm.
supplement it and yada yada, like red light, hyperbaric chamber, all the therapies that a lot of autism parents use, it's all the
Hmm.
same. And
Yeah.
what's crazy about it is you're just reminding your body to do what it's meant to do.
Yeah. Honestly, okay. Have you ever heard of Jake Ducey?
No.
Okay, so back during COVID, I was very into like learning about how to think of things more positively, change your mindset to be
Okay.
more like
That's
positively focused.
big
And
too.
so
Yep.
one of the things that he talks about in his YouTube videos is like disease is just dis-ease in the body. Like the opposite of being at ease is being at in dis-ease. And he
Mm.
says like literally that is just what disease is in the body. And so I feel like I've kind of like relearned what autism is, and I kind of take that framework now of like autism, obviously like people say it's not a disease or whatever, but it is a disability, and it is dis-ease happening in the body that you can treat, and you can
Hmm.
like, support the body to help regain all of the lost skill. Not all of them, hopefully all of them, but sometimes there's just some that you might not be able to perfect that you
Right.
could have. But like recovery is possible, and it just makes me think about as if you tackle the things that are causing dis-ease in the body, you can help get rid of disease in the body, you know?
I mean, it's in the definition, autism spectrum disorder. It's a
Yeah, it's a
disorder. So
disorder.
why is that so offensive? Because
Um,
there's one camp of autism, mostly the low support needs,
mhm.
that is offensive to even say you want to heal or support somebody's body to help them have less symptoms of autism. Like,
Right. Um, yeah, I agree with you on that. Is like, just because I'm trying to support my son doesn't mean that I have anything that it doesn't have anything to do with you.
right,
I'm not supporting my son because of what that means for you. I'm just trying to help him because I love him and because
yeah,
I want the best for him and I want to give him the best quality of life. And like I said in my other video not too long ago, is like, if a child is visually impaired and they need glasses, are you going to say, no, we're just going to accept you the way you are and we're going to love you the way you are and we're not going to give you glasses because us giving you glasses is fixing you and you're not broken? You're going to just give them glasses because that doesn't just because you're trying to help them doesn't mean there's something wrong or broken with them. It
right.
you can support them and love them and accept them at the same time. Like the
Isn't that
both can coexist.
isn't that just being a parent?
Yeah, exactly. Like you're going to do whatever you can to help your child, no matter what that means for anybody else. It doesn't mean anything for anybody else. It's just your child and what you want like for them. Like I said,
Right,
I'm doing this to try to help Liam regain all of like the lost opportunities I feel like he like lost from him. Like
right,
all of these medical interventions that happen and all of the things from the environment that also played a role that I didn't even talk about on the medical intervention because they weren't like related to his timeline, but there were things from the environment, I'm sure, like pesticides and flame retardants. And my husband is a car painter, so he's constantly
mm,
like blowing paint fumes and stuff, you know.
mm-hmm.
He has like the aerator or whatever, but still, like those are toxins, and those didn't even play a role in this, but
Right.
still, those do play a role. Oh, and going back to
And
this,
geoengineering.
do you know what another thing that's really weird about this? So I sent this to two different AI platforms. I said, this is like my son's timeline. I removed anything that had any relation to like autism or anything. I took out, he was showing head shaking and stimming. I didn't want that to influence what AI would say, but I put in just the timestamps and the vaccinations and the antibiotics and the anesthesia and all of that. And I said, given this medical timeline, what would you assume that this child would eventually be diagnosed with? And I made sure that I downloaded new chatbots that I had never spoken to because I didn't want any previous conversations to influence.
Yeah.
And like multiple chatbots said, I suspect that this child would be diagnosed with eczema, skin issues, GI issues, digestive issues, and autism spectrum disorder, or Asperger's, like some type of neurodevelopmental disorder, and apraxia.
Wow.
And I was like, my gosh, like just from this, not even talking about the environmental, like pesticides and flame retardants and none of that. This is just the medical intervention that I sent them. And all of the AI bots assumed that this child would eventually be diagnosed with
It's
autism.
almost like the system knows what it's doing.
Yeah. And I wanted to also just make sure that it wasn't just this one AI chat box that would be biased. Like I literally got the
Right.
same response from multiple different AI platforms. And I was just
Man.
like, gosh, I wish that I knew because maybe if some of this stuff wouldn't have happened, it wouldn't have led. Like, I really feel like a lot of neurodevelopmental disorders are not direct causes, they're indirect results
Mm.
of things that
Yeah.
happened, you know? Yeah.
Well, you're crushing it. Liam, Liam's lucky to have you as his mom. And for all
Aw,
the
thanks.
listeners, like, I mean, you're hearing Stephanie's story, and just like know that there's hope and there's tons of stuff you can do. You just got to do your research. Maybe not as
Yeah.
much as Stephanie.
Yeah, you'll drive yourself crazy. That's why I made my platform so
Yeah,
you can
you
go like
gotta
learn through
check
all
it.
these little things. You don't have to go on a wild goose chase
Do
like
you
I did.
do you have 15 more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna close it with three questions. I'm gonna ask him right now, but don't
Okay.
answer them, and then I'm gonna ask the $1 million question.
Okay.
Biggest myth about autism: most dangerous piece of advice parents are given,
Okay.
and one sentence every autism mom needs to hear. But before
Okay.
we get to that, the $1 million question, which you could probably go for hours on. Why do you believe Liam wasn't born with autism?
Do you want me to answer that first or the
Eh,
other ones first and then do the
No,
million
no,
dollar?
answer that one first.
Okay. Yeah, this I literally could go on hours. I
I,
believe that
I
Liam.
see your video. I mean, I have your videos up, but go for it.
So basically, I believe that Liam wasn't born with autism because through the research I've been doing, I've been learning that autism, yes, genetics play a role, but they're not the only answer. And they're not the only explanation. And like, there's no autism gene. It's not like you have this gene that means you have autism. Like,
Mhm.
even having Fragile X, which is like one of the most strongest genes associated with autism, doesn't guarantee that you're going to have autism. You know, there's people who have Fragile X that don't have autism.
Right.
So I've been learning that yes, they play a role, but they're not the sole answer. And so then that led me to learning what else can play a role. And I think it's also important not to say what caused the autism, but like it's so important to say what contributed to the autism because it really is a synergistic mix of different sources that are all happening at once or happening at like high exposures in combination with one another during critical periods of development, like global development. Like you have your immune system developing and your brain developing and your gut developing, your microbiome developing, your sensory integration developing, which is your sensory motor integration developing, because that plays a big role in apraxia and how your body takes in sensory information, sends it to the brain, and the brain comes back out with like purposeful motor interactions in response to those sensory stimuli and stuff. And so, learning that, I've now learned that we have the MTHFR gene and the GSTP1 gene. And so, how those play a role. MTHFR affects your ability to methylate, which is like so important for development, but also for so many other things that are needed for the body. And methylfolate is one of the most important vitamins that you could need for your body. And then also we have low glutathione, and we also have like low glutathione production. And so basically Liam has trouble methylating and he has trouble detoxing. And on top of the detoxification, we also have the GSTP1 variant,
Mm.
which is not something that I hear many people talk about. I don't know how common it is, but for GSTP1, your body, your enzymes are not as efficient in binding glutathione to carcinogens and heavy metals. So even if you have adequate levels of glutathione, your enzymes then still have trouble binding to it anyways. So like I feel like
Mm.
that's a double whammy on Liam's part. And with the MTHFR, he has double MTHFR gene mutations. So he doesn't just have one bad
Double.
copy, he has two bad copies. Yeah, so he has double MTHFR and then he has the GSTP1. I don't know if he has double GSTP1 or just one bad copy, but I have two bad copies. So we know that he has at least one bad copy because I only had bad copies to give. And that's how we knew that Liam had MTHFR before we had him genetically tested, because my husband has two bad copies of MTHFR, meaning he only had bad copies to give. So you
Oh.
get you get one copy from mom, one copy from dad. If mom only has bad copies to give, your copy from mom is only going to be bad because that's all she had. And then
Uh,
same with dad. If your dad also has only two bad copies of MTHFR, you only get a
you
bad
don't get
copy
it
from dad. You
bad.
now have two bad copies. For me, I have one and one. I have one good and one bad. So unfortunately, I gave him my bad copy
Oh,
because Liam has double MTHFR. So he got one bad from Will because that's all Will had to give. I had one good
I
and
got
one
the
bad,
one.
but unfortunately, I gave him my bad.
Why couldn't he get the good?
I know, right? But so those obviously play a role in methylation and detoxification. And when your body can't detoxify, it holds everything in and it sets off immune activation and sympathetic dominance and all that. And obviously, with all of the antibiotic use and the gut microbes and stuff, those are affecting the gut brain connection. And that's really important for development and nervous system regulation and all of that. And then, like I said, like the forceps that put him in sympathetic dominance. You know,
Hmm.
his nervous system was dysregulated and like got stuck that way. Cell danger response. That's another one
Oh,
too that I feel like played a role because literally with all of those hits back to back to back to back, like the antibiotics were giving off cell danger response, the infections were giving off cell danger response, the vaccines were giving off cell danger response, any heavy metals that were found in his baby formula would have been giving off cell danger. Like there's so many things that were contributing to cell danger response as well. Like,
yeah.
and if you get stuck in cell danger response, it's hard to get out because your mitochondria are now like weakened. Do you know much about it?
No, I just started looking into it, and I was talking with the family undoctor
Oh yes, yes.
a little ways
I follow
back,
her.
and
Yeah.
I'm gonna have her on to learn more
Yeah.
about it. But it looks super intriguing. And again,
Yeah.
I hear a lot of that with cancer.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So,
one of the things that Dr. Sanya talks about with cell danger response is how it contributes to downstream mitochondrial weakness. So when the cell membranes get damaged, the cells get into a protective mode and they start signaling to the other cells that there's danger nearby. And so they all get protective and they stop like communicating with one another and like doing their duties. And so they don't produce as much ATP, which is cellular fuel that is needed to send signals to the rest of the body to move the muscles purposefully. And so that's part of the reason why a lot of kids stop giving eye contact because you have the finest fine
mm,
motor skills in your eyes, in your hands, and in your mouth. Those are like the finest fine motor skills. And so when cell danger response gets turned on and the cells start prioritizing cellular fuel for survival and not for development, certain things that require more ATP because they're more fine motor skills, those start to dwindle. And so you get like the eyes, like they don't make eye contact, and speech goes because all the fine motor skills in your mouth, and that's where like they're nonverbal. One of the things that Dr. Sanya says is the more severe the motor planning, the more severe the presentation of autism. And it goes
mm,
along with apraxia. Like they know everything that they want to do, but they can't get their bodies to do it. Their brain, or their not their brain, but their cells are not producing enough ATP to fuel the muscles needed for like carrying out purposeful movements.
interesting.
And it's the same thing as like if adult it goes into cell danger response, prioritizing they stop prioritizing cellular fuel for reproduction, and a lot of people lose their libido and they don't like
Oh,
realize that that is like basically your cells are prioritizing cellular fuel for survival and not for reproduction, and you lose your libido because it's not a priority for your body at the moment. You know, there's more things that require cellular fuel that's more important to your body at the time.
wow. The human
Yeah.
body is just wild.
Right. And it's like people just think like, oh, it's just normal. Like it's like, oh, it's my diet, or I just don't get enough sleep, or me and my partner not been
But
intimate. Like they like write off like reasons why their libido is gone, but really like
your
look into cell
body
dangers.
is communicating something.
Yeah. It's giving you signs, and a lot of it is written off to us.
Right. Real quick, I know Liam has some crazy solid AAC skills. I think that's what the first time I saw your page is you had all those visual icons up, and then he was reading a book on his AAC. I'm like, holy smokes, this guy's a wizard. Um,
So I made his like picture board while I was in the middle of a bipolar episode. So
I was like,
that,
yeah, this mom is tiled
you
with.
see how like my bipolar like manifests into productivity?
Uh,
Like that is like where like my bipolar gets fueled is through productivity. But
uh,
also I completely customized and changed his entire AAC device when I was in the middle of a bipolar episode too, because it comes like fully like as a default. And then I
yeah.
kept thinking like, this doesn't make sense to me. It's not going to make sense to him. Any like relative that is also trying to help him with his AAC device isn't going to understand it. And so I started to change his AAC device in a way that I would understand it in the way that I thought other people would understand it. And so that took like weeks to do, but I was like in a bipolar episode, like I
Hey,
was determined to get that AAC device like done and like configured.
it works. It works.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I think for all the listeners, if you've made it this far, um, this is your space. I don't care how long we talk, but the I think you've made a pretty good case that Liam was not born with autism.
Hold on one second. My dog wants to come back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
And what's the saying? Genetics loads the gun, but environment pulls the trigger. Yeah,
which I totally like. I totally agree with that.
totally. I mean,
Yeah.
I think your story is that.
And have you heard Dr. Chris Palmer from Harvard talk about this one is my why part 10, I think. But he talks about how like people who have genetic susceptibility sometimes can't take as many hits to their immune system
Right.
as everybody else. And so when you get that final hit that like tips the balance, that's when you start to see regression happen. And
Yeah.
I love the fact that like a professional, especially somebody who is as prestigious as Harvard, is starting to acknowledge the fact that yeah, this can happen in people who are sensitive. But we're not
Right.
testing these babies to see if they're sensitive yet before we give them the vaccines. And so how do you know if that baby is sensitive or not? Like you don't know what that baby's genetics are. We just give Hep B on the first day, and there was no testing to see if that child, what is
Right.
that child's risk assessment for the Hep B if they were just born? Like, what testing did you do to make sure that that baby
None.
can take that? Yeah,
It's
exactly.
a system meant to treat symptoms and not
But that baby doesn't even have any symptoms.
health. Right. Or,
Like, if
or,
anything,
or we could go a step further. It's creating the symptoms to treat the
yeah,
symptoms.
yeah.
But we get it.
So
I get into that in Dr. Stan Holmes' episode, which is
when does that come out?
a couple. It's out. It's out.
Oh, okay.
It's out right now.
Oh, I missed it. I have to
No,
listen.
well, it's not because this is going to drop in like 6 weeks, but his is
Okay.
going to drop in like 3 weeks. So when people hear this, his already
It might.
dropped.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So hopefully,
Yeah,
if they listen to that and then listen to mine, it'll make more
it'll
sense.
it'll all link together.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
What were those last three questions? I can just breeze through them, but I
Yeah,
already
yeah.
forgot what they were.
There it is. Mic drop. This was
Yeah,
it.
I recommend any parent to look up the Welcome to Holland poem and read it. And that was given to us when Liam was diagnosed with autism, and definitely made me cry the first time I read it. But it's such an important message for parents to learn and to like live by.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I'll link that one too.
okay, yeah.
There it is. Unspecial podcast. Stephanie Rapp. Awesome _ insights.
Insight.
Thanks for being on. It was a blast.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun.
Yeah.